I feel like the Sportsmates in Nintendo Switch Sports, the new placeholder looking characters which seem to be really hated, are being implemented for a specific purpose and will make sense with what the game is intending to incentivize new players. Now I want to start this off by saying that not having the Miis as the forefront of the game is really weird. It feels so weird. It is a direct successor to Wii Sports and its sequels, and such a large part of that charm of those games was having your own character, your own insert playing the game, or just making your characters look as weird as possible, or trying to make pop culture characters like Robotnik playing tennis. Yeah, sure. Waluigi playing bowling. That's the stuff. Now, Miis have dropped in relevance since the days of the Wii console, but have still been in games. Mario Golf Super Rush, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Smash Bros. They're still around on Nintendo Switch. There's even a Mii-focused port in Miitopia with a revamped character creator. So why drop them mostly for this new iteration of the series that made them so beloved in the first place? Well, let's look at the variety of the designs for the Sportsmates. Yes, they're called Sportsmates. They didn't say that in the trailer, they just said it in the social media marketing and on the websites, but whatever. This home screen shows a more diverse range of expressions, hairstyles, facial hair, and more importantly, outfits. The gameplay further shows off some of the more generic outfits, but a bunch of different and varied customizations for your Sportsmate. The facial expressions move around mid-game and are much more fluid than the Miis ever were. Mii characters have typically had more of a set mouth or set facial impression that moved around more kind of stop motion, like early South Park. And that is still shown in the Direct. Check out this footage of Koizumi and Takahashi playing volleyball.
And they score. Takahashi didn't quite get it in time. Alright, well, it's okay, the game's not over.
You see the static face changing here for the Mii? Compare it to the Sportsmates. The Sportsmates' faces move much more fluidly than the Mii's can. They're going for more modern dynamic looks here, and I think that is going to gel a lot better with the more diverse cosmetic options that they are offering as an incentive to play here. You see, Wii Sports back in the day was a revelation. There had not been motion controlled sports done in this sort of capacity and this sort of caliber before, and it was its own gimmick. You go around to your mates and play bowling and golf and tennis and stuff like that. It was fantastic, and it didn't need additional incentive to get people to play it. And the thing is that probably because of the effect of Wii Sports being so good, there are now plenty of motion control options to play on plenty of different consoles. So what makes Nintendo Switch Sports unique, and what incentivizes players to come over and play it? Now, look, for a lot of people watching this video, and like myself, the sports themselves are going to be enough. That's just the way that it is. But for a large demographic, it's possible that that's not going to be enough, so they're going to want something different to come over, and they need different incentives. The online competitive modes are one way that they are doing this with the various leagues available, but they've mentioned specifically about unlockable cosmetic items through continued play. You want the cooler or weirder outfit, you want to really customize your character and really shine through it in whatever way you want, you're going to have to play more Nintendo Switch Sports. Looking back at the image from the Nintendo website of the customization options, there looks to be a wide variety of ways we can make our characters look more unique and more us. I think that might be their end game, and the more dynamic and customizable the characters, the more people will want to unlock those cosmetics and keep spending time with Nintendo Switch Sports. In a modern world where in-game skins are a massive deal, something like this does make sense. And then we found this image on the Japanese website. The squirrel on the right. This all but confirms to me they're leaning really heavily into modern skin theming customizations, and the unlockables like this are a central gameplay incentive. If we're lucky, we're going to see some really weird and interesting costumes. Emphasis on the weird. And I guess now the big question is, couldn't they just do that with the Miis? Well, yeah, of course they could. They're gambling on nostalgia and the tie-ins with the older Wii Sports titles, which sold ridiculous amounts, but they want to show evolution and keep up with more modern trends of more custom characters and skins and such. That's why the Miis aren't at the forefront. They've kept them in for nostalgia, or possibly added them in. I actually watched a really interesting video on Nintendo Switch Sports and how it kind of feels like they were doing something different and then they've decided to brand it as Nintendo Switch Sports. It's a video by Voyan. I really recommend you watch it because it was really cool. Give it a go. But the Miis aren't the focus here because these more modern skin customizations would probably take away what made the Miis unique in the first place. If you use a squirrel outfit, it will likely override most of the personality and facial features that you put into your Mii, whereas for the Sportsmates they're more of a blank slate and you won't lose as much. They want to bring something to make it stand out and seem different to all of its peers and even its own family members. I still know people who fire up the Wii and play Wii Sports because it's a great party game, you know, it still holds up really well, but they want to do everything they can to bring people over to the Nintendo Switch system, and the modern skin style system is something that they are going to do in order to incentivize people. However, with these more complicated skins, it would remove the personality from the Miis, and it would remove really what made the Miis themselves, so that's why they're focusing on the sports people instead. It's all to further their own incentive endgame. This may not be right, at all. This whole thing could be completely wrong, and it's very likely that it is, but that's what makes sense to me, and that's what I'm theorizing. They fit more in place with the aesthetic of Spocko Square. They fit better with the higher level of customization, and they fit better with the skins than the Miis would, and that is why they're focusing on the Sportsmates. But when all's said and done, honestly, I'll use my Sportsmates, they'll be fun, but I'm probably going to use the Miis. Let's be real, I really like that nostalgia. That is something that ticks the boxes for me, and personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if you want to use the Sportsmates, you feel free. For some people, the nostalgia is going to be enough to bring them into this game, but for others, they need additional incentives, and that's okay. It's not really for me, but that's okay. So what do you think about this? Do you think that I'm crazy or anything? Or does this make sense? I think it makes sense. Let me know down in the comments, and thank you so much for your time today. As always, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and thank you so much to my patrons like Rain, I Love Waffles 1311, and Sick Hippie for amazing support through Patreon. Check it out in the description below. Thank you so much for your time today. I've been Master Trainer Peter, and I'll see you in Nintendo Switch Sports.